chirping syllables, all the way back to the lake and into the afternoon, into the next day, week, month. And then one day she will say, horse, in perfect English, and you will weep for that August morning when your mother, your aunt, and you first showed the baby how to feed an apple to this creature the way their father, your grandfather, taught them, taught you in this same barn. The day you teach her horse is the first day you realize you are teaching her your memories, your landscape, as it has been taught to you, in apple-sized moments swallowed whole.
Hello, I'm Valerie Deas, and this is Birthday Candles. At Isaac Hayes' birthday party, I tell Dionne Warwick how much I love her. I gush about her, how her soft kitty eyes and her songs remind me of my childhood, solid gold dancers, skin knees, leotards, and my Nana learning English from Video Music Box. I explain how her high cheekbones are the same mountains that rest in the faces on my mother's side of the family, the mountains in Haiti. I whisper to her my dream of her and Stephanie Mills singing a duet like Monica and Brandy's The Boy Is Mine, but at the end she would flip it saying she didn't need that sorry old hymn anyway. She turns to me and lets out a throaty, "Thank you, baby," with an open-mouthed smile blowing cigarette smoke in my face.
I'm Caitlin Hibbert. Barbie's bell-bottoms. When I find them on the lake path, tiny faded denim trousers abandoned for a tryst in duckweed, I half expect to see her tanned plastic haunches bobbing in the shallows, one arm extended above her head in that wave of hers, you know the one, fingers poised and graceful, the perpetual cheerleader. Oh, brilliant indolence of girls, Barbie in the plankton, the flotsam and jetsam of girlhood, shining wet and not yet sexed. As a girl, I wasn't supposed to have one. Mother thought her too developed, hoped to slow my own enormous breasts, but I found ways to play with her. Staged beauty pageant shows starring dolls with stripper names, Candy Cane and Sandy Beach, who always lost the crown to Cookie Cutter. Later, I see her swinging by her long blonde hair, clutched in a Hmong girl's grasp, legs akimbo at the narrow hinge of hips, feet arched and pointed in an endless spasm of agony or delight.
Thanks for listening to KFAI today as we celebrate International Women's Day by listening to women poets from the Twin Cities read their original work. You've just heard Caitlin Hibbard read Barbie's Bell Bottoms, and before that, Birthday Candles by Valerie Deas, The Day You Teach Her Horse by Megan Maloney Vins, and we started off the set with Tracks by Tish Jones. As you listen to the varied voices of these contemporary American poets, I invite you to think about the history and journey of American poetry. Does it start with Emily Dickinson, alone in her room in Amherst, writing 1,800 poems to an unknown audience? If so, what does that tell us about audience? Who is the audience for today's poetry? How many women are making poetic history today, alone in their rooms? Let's continue to listen to some of this history, and I'll start us off with another poem by Emily Dickinson. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The dews grew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown, my tippet only tulle. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice but a mound. Since then 'tis centuries, and yet each feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horses' heads were towards eternity.
This is Sandy Beach. My poem is Plum. An impulse in sodium amber glow. Long out of practice, he does not yet know how to savor this ripened unto bursting plum. With soft yielding, intense sweetness threatens to give way at the slightest pressure.
I'm Jackie Fuller, and this is Man Discovers a Veda. It's his favorite place nowadays, this gilded palace of flock and flutter, twitter, chatter, house sparrows in a hedge, these girls. They curl, they straighten, they apply what looks to man like spackle. In the sunny standstill of Minnesota winter, he waits to hear his name. Would he like a cup of comforting tea? He would. Everything aches. Would he like to go on a sensory journey? Absolutely, he would. What class, man asks, but he knows, by their level of tan. They arrived parked and blinking, butter-colored Bemidji queens. They leave like Thanksgiving turkeys. Oh man, the lather, the lavender, the blast of warm water, and their fingers, such claws of steel on these nearly teenagers. He shudders when toweled like a baby. An instructor approves and it's over too soon, but look, he's handsome again, ready for anything. The highway of Saturday night unfurls, and man's chest is a grandfather clock, loneliness swinging there.
This is Charisse Gendron. Janis. The snowball moon careering past your head, out in the cosmic squall, looks stuck to me. From your perspective, everything moves on, while engines freeze and stall back here on Earth. If I were dead and you were still alive, you would be done with mourning. You would free me, letting things be, mats in the cat's coat, elective affinities paired in trees. A fixing blade to truck, the plowwoman scrapes the billows into concrete banks, monuments of grit, signal satellites. At bus stops like mountain goats we clamor. Obdurately, the goat must butt its horns against the pillowed wind to make it storm.
This is Valerie Deas, and this poem is Talking Dead. Something about the details left me cold. And you're right. Death never means death. A dead person can seem alive when pressed to answer. We bought some sage, but I wasn't sure. Maybe you were a diviner, or something like an exhibit, or a birthday, or a fever. Had to check if you smelled the same, if you were still the same. At a distance, you seem more vulnerable, loose and negotiated, too eager to play the crumpled spouse, restless and disposable. But this time things were different. This time we canceled out our surroundings, me with my sea rocks and tongues, burnt the sage, and you with your crosses and water, followed by a smudge to clean out the primal native details.
This is MC Highland. This poem is Ghosts Before Breakfast. There are more of us wrestling, perhaps, in places worn so the light comes through. Orbiting the words, she makes a circle around herself. A door opens in a hidden room, her face mounting from trees to a severe sky. Souled breathings shape our breasts in a sort of dance. How the arms, coming in brightness, hold the unfamiliar tool submerged. So much water waiting to receive her, descend the whale.
That was MC Highland reading her poem Ghosts Before Breakfast. And before that we heard Talking Dead by Valerie Deas, Janis by Shirish Chandran, Man Discovers Aveda by Jackie Fuller, and Plum by Sandy Beach. And we started off the set with Because I Could Not Stop for Death by Emily Dickinson. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll start our next set off with Jackie Fuller.
A man on the bus mistakes me for his wife. He dreams he's on a long flight. In the dream of flight, he dreams of falling from the sky. Half wakes and is glad for his wife next to him. Settles into her, into me. Sighs the deep release of sleep. I don't correct him. I would have made a great polygamist. Pricked, could have set the whole world on my axis. But the question gave me eiderdown, gave me kitten fur and cave water heart. Made me cenote. Tiptoe. No horseplay, boys. You might fall in.
This is Morgan Grace Willow. Blessing. Pink of the granite meets gray. In between crystals shine. Deep inside a memory of fire. The boulder lies big as a cow in the pasture. The child who climbs it believes she's found the very navel of the world. At the high end of the huge stone lies a basin left by the great glacier. In it, water warmed by the sun. She dips her fingertips. She shakes this water over the Canadian thistle, the lamb's quarters and wild oats, lapping the base of the boulder. Between water drops and crystals,